All right, everybody. Good evening. I think we're ready to start. Let's get started a little early. We can finish way late. Just kidding. So just to introduce myself, first of all, welcome everybody. My name is Mike Martin. I have been, I missed the first forum. I thought that'd be great to come. I didn't realize I'd be moderating. But Brian was called out of town on an emergency, so I'm filling it for him. No Brian, but we'll get through it, okay? A little bit about myself. I was on city council in 2002 to 2006. Actually, I had to ask my wife today, when was I on council? It's been so long ago. So 24 years ago. Believe it or not, I was elected as a write-in candidate. So things can happen. I think I decided 2 weeks before the election, and it was and ended up writing in and won the election. It was different times back then. We've been in Grimes since 1997, and we live about a Bryson DeChambeau drive up from here, not very far, on the other side of the cemetery. Matter of fact, my daughter and son-in-law and grandson now live in Grimes, so it's growing. And someday, you guys hopefully take care of things. My grandson might run for mayor. He has a lot of tendency to talk a lot. I don't know where he gets it from. So with that, I want to recognize a few things. So we have elected official in the House. Jill, is there anybody else? I don't think so. So welcome. Also want to recognize any members of the Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development. Anyone here? Yeah, okay. Look. And really especially I want to recognize the first responders. Love it. You guys are here. So some thank yous before we get started. Candidates, for your participation. I've been there, and it's challenging, and we all appreciate you guys putting your neck on the line to run for a council like that or a mayor. It says a lot about who you are, and appreciate what you're doing. And good luck. I also want to thank the City of Grimes for the space. It's the old chamber, so I always wanted to do the gavel, so maybe sometimes I can do it. There are, as you know, and we also want to thank everybody in the audience. It's important that you're here to kind of help them with understand the questions and read through them. There are 5 candidates seeking 3 at-large council seats, and then there are 2 candidates seeking the mayoral seat. So as we get started, we'll introduce yourselves. And as what I've heard is the Economic Development has invited all declared candidates. No one that I know of is running for I was a write-in, I heard, which you never know. Also want to thank Big Bang Marketing for providing the videography. My left side is my best side. So some ground rules. We'll have the responses timed. This time it'll be obvious. Don't look for me. So if you can keep your answers to 2 minutes or less, that'd be great. The format, this is the same as last time, not a debate. It's not intended for each candidate to address each other. Instead, it's an opportunity to respond to the questions that came from the Grimes Chamber and Economic Development that are appropriate to their membership, and will also be very important to those in the public as well, which is why we've invited them to the forum. Additional things, candidates are welcome to address issues that did not come up in the questions that were sent previously during your closing remarks. So if you missed something, you want to talk about it in your closing remarks. We'll try to keep this to an hour and a half. Ryan said that the space closes at 8 o'clock, so we'll try to keep this to an hour and a half. It might be a little longer. So at 7:15, what I'll try to do is get to the questions from the audience. So if we run short of the questions, we'll have to skip a couple of them. And audience, there's a fishbowl over here. So if you have a question, want to write something on there, you're welcome to do that. And if there's anything afterwards, if there's questions that haven't been addressed, I heard Joe say he'll be here until midnight. So they'll be out here as long as you need to outside the building. So if there's something that you want to address, they'll be there. Are you ready to get started? You guys ready? Okay. So can I get each of the candidates to introduce themselves and what position they are seeking in the upcoming election? Leslie, we want to just start with you?
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate your time here tonight and everyone for joining, and once again, the Chamber for hosting. My name is Leslie Irlbeck, and I am seeking my first term on the City Council. Live here in Grimes with my daughters who are 6 and 8 and our golden retriever, Penny. I have 20 years of experience leading communication strategy, doing that for profit, nonprofit, and public sectors, 10 years of experience with executive leadership. The chief operating officer at Metro Waste Authority, where I've been for 15 years. And prior to children, my volunteer community efforts were in the space of working at volunteering at Blaine Children's Hospital and Make-A-Wish. Took a little hiatus when I was in the trenches with my children and just, trying to bathe and get them dressed and work through all of that. But now that we've surfaced on the other side, my community involvement has looked more like supporting local elementary school and their PTO, coaching my daughter's softball team, which is by far still the most underappreciated volunteer work I've ever done. When you're pitching to your own daughter and striking her out, that is not always met with laughter on the other side of the home plate. And then also currently serving on the district's ad hoc committee, which is working to achieve how we retain our really great teachers in the school district, as well as in an era where parents have the choice to choose where their kids go to school. How do we get parents to recognize how wonderful DCG schools are so that they choose DCG?
Okay. Joe?
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you again, guys. Chamber, you guys do a great job with this. I definitely appreciate it. Appreciate everybody coming out. My name is Joe Herman. 30 years in military, retired military. I have 5 children, from 33 down to 9. Been in Grimes for 9 years. I volunteer quite a bit. GVSS, I volunteer as a coach, and so on. Been on the chain gang 4 years. Yeah, that's the most important right there. No, just kidding. I've been all over. I chose to retire in Grimes. I've been in many communities throughout the country, 30 years in military. I fell in love with Grimes. Grimes is a great place. My leadership experience consists of military time, multiple deployments, multiple years in leadership positions from the top to the bottom. I'm seeking city council seat. Again, I'm just passionate about Grimes. There's so many things in Grimes that is so good that people need to know about, things that we need to fix and so on. So again, I'm running for city council because I love Grimes. I could have retired anywhere in this country. I chose Grimes. After 30 years in the military, I fell in love with Grimes. I don't have a clock running, so I'm going to keep talking. Oh, I'm just kidding.
You do.
The
internet.
I'm always available, and I will be available after this to discuss more, because there's no way we can answer these questions in 2 minutes. So I will be here after as well, outside, I guess, right?
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Alan May. Lived in the metro area about 38 years. I have 2 children, one here in West Des Moines and another one in South Carolina. 5 grandchildren. I guess from that standpoint, I have been a coach of girls soccer, been a Cub Scout master leader, been a leader in our church. From that aspect as well, if some of the things you might be familiar with what I have done. I have a degree in urban planning, signed off an 801 grant, Principal Park, a lot of things in Des Moines when I worked with the city planning department down there. So know a little bit about economic development, to have done subdivisions from the ground up. In fact, I've done one where we built a 120 lot subdivision ourselves by the city. So know that from an infrastructure standpoint, know it from a basis to work with neighborhoods to get things done, from the standpoint of people who come in and they're just totally upset with what's going on. And we have some of those things that are in situation here today in Grimes. I think from the basis of the standpoint, it's easy to remember. My name is May, and I'm running for mayor, so it's May for mayor. Thanks very much.
David?
Okay. Yeah, David Gisch. I've lived in Grimes for about 15 years now. This is my second term on city council, so I've been on city council for almost 8 years. Professionally, I've been in education. That's what I do for my career. I started in teaching high school. I always reluctantly tell people I taught math because they always sigh, but that's what I did. And then I got a job at DMAC, and I've been at DMAC. That's what brought me to the Metro, and we chose Grimes. And so I was a professor at DMAC, and now I'm an administrative academic dean at DMAC, so that's my kind of daily job there. I've really enjoyed my time in the council. I think we've done a lot of great things. I've got a lot of experience that I think would be good for mayor. I served on the Metro Waste Authority board for 7 years. I was actually vice chair of that board for a while. Been serving on the fire board. I'm current chair of the fire board, and so I'm proud of the work we're trying to do there. And otherwise, I think we got a lot of great things going on in Grimes. We're not perfect, but nobody's perfect. And I think we're trying to do all the right things, and we're trying to do a lot of movement to get all those things that people want.
Ryan?
First of all, I'll point out we have another homeless celebrity who just walked in the room. Our former mayor, Mr. Armstrong, there. Served very well for us, along with yourself, around the same time that you're serving. So, I moved to this town 25 years ago with my wife. I think at the time we had 2 kids, another one on the way. 5 kids all graduated Dowson or Grimes, ages 23 to 30. Let's see, go down through the kids. I've got a kid serving as childcare. I want a teacher. I have one that's a fireman. I have one that's training to do more stuff in the military, and I have one that lives with us and works up at Quick Start. Brought them up in this community. We were looking for a town that was close enough to what I grew up with in West Des Moines, but had the small town feel in Monticello, Iowa, where my wife was from. And we found it. At the time, 5,000 people, which was the same size as Monticello. We've seen the town grow, and it has grown fantastic. It has grown because we have right people doing things. Maybe slow, definitely slow up things, but that's the way government should run. It should not be the impulsive stuff that we have on a national basis of things moving back and forth depending on who's in charge of stuff that's happening. We need to have things happen efficiently, but not dramatically. Very happy with the things we've accomplished with lowered taxes every year. I know your taxes don't go down net-wise, but the value of your house goes up. So we've worked hard to do that every year, and we expanded what services we provided. Again, very proud of it. I'd love to serve another 4 more years. I think the city is going the right direction. Ryan Berger for City Council. Perfect.
My name is Jared Lovelady. I am also running for one of the 3 city council seats. I've been a resident of Grimes for going on 10 years now. And for much of the same reasons that anybody moved here to Grimes is personally was the school system. I grew up going to private school because some of the schools around the metro area were a little bit more rough than what we liked, and we liked the religion aspect of it. And when I looked at raising my kids in Urbandale, which is where I initially came from, it was, do I send them to private school too? Or do we try to find a place where we're going to live and grow and I can trust in the school system that I'm going to send it to? So after looking all around the metro, we settled on Grimes after speaking with some of the teachers that work here and how much they absolutely love their jobs. Now, I've talked to a lot of teachers at other schools that don't necessarily love their jobs. It's a job. And the passion that the teachers have here in Grimes is amazing. And I do know from talking to many of them that they are not the highest paid teachers in the metro either. Yet we still retain them because they love this community. So that's one of the reasons that we decided to move here. And, after 5 years of living here and really kind of getting integrated into the community and meeting other people, I realized that this is a place that I want to raise the rest of my kids. So I've got 3 kids all the way down from 3 to 10 now, and they're in everything. So I apologize. I don't have an extensive voluntary background or anything like that because most of it's spent running the kids around and doing things like that. But those are the important things to me. Like when I have a chance to help out, I'd love to help out. But between, helping people out with small engines and snowblowers that aren't running and stuff like that throughout the city of Grimes, and the 3 kids that always seem to need something or ran somewhere, that's basically, what takes up a lot of my time. So the reason that I also decided to run this time is I do believe that there should be term limits on any elected position. We need different opinions. We need different visions of how things could run in the future, not always the same vision. And after talking to a lot of people, there's things that they wanted to see. So I just want to be a voice for the people. and that's why I'm running.
Thank you. Laurie?
Hi, I'm Laurie DePhillips. I'm currently city council member in my first term. I am seeking re-election for city council. I have lived in Grimes for probably the shortest amount of time. I've moved here during COVID from the faraway town of Johnston. So very familiar with Grimes before I moved here. I currently am the WRA board member for the city of Grimes, as well as serving on the fire board with Councilman Gisch. And prior to that, I worked with the public health and safety board that has kind of been brought internally now here with the city of Grimes. I'm seeking re-election because basically why I ran the first time. I really want to be involved with the community. I love this community. I feel like we've done a lot of really good stuff the past 4 years, but we have a lot more that we can do. And I want to be part of that. I love talking with residents and finding out what it is that they're interested in or things that they would like to see. But more than anything, working together to really push our community forward in a really positive way. I echo some of the sentiments already mentioned, that we have done an incredible amount of work and things are really moving in the right direction. And I feel very strongly and very proud about the work that we as a council have done together. It's not always easy. We don't always agree, but we work together collaboratively, and that's really important. And that's been really helpful in allowing us to move things forward and not stalling. But I would be remiss to not shout out our city staff, and that's part of why we have been very successful in the things that we've been able to accomplish. Is they come to us with really well-researched things based on data, and we do ask some tough questions, and sometimes we send things back. But it's been a really rewarding experience to serve, and I would love to continue to serve this community. Thank you.
Thank you. And welcome, everybody. So getting into the questions. What I'm going to do is start with the mayor candidates, and then Joe, I'm going to start with you and backwards, and we'll keep rotating. So the first question really is, and there's a big statement before I get to the question, but the Hy-Vee multiplex powered by the city of Grimes has brought tremendous benefits to the Grimes business community by attracting visitors, boosting local commerce, and raising the city's profile as a regional destination. However, the nearby residents have reported significant challenges since its opening, including early morning lights as early as 5:30 a.m., late night activities, sometimes until 11 p.m. and later, and weekend traffic congestion and foul balls landing on their properties. Okay, so the question, what steps would you take, if any, to help balance the economic and community benefits of the complex with the quality of life concerns for those who live in close proximity? You want to repeat that? Yeah, so go ahead.
Sure. I think one of the things that you really need to take a look at it is from a land use planning perspective. And as a urban planner for decades, the location that was identified for this is one that was not a perfect location. It was far from that, because you don't use a complex like that has high lighting and visibility from that standpoint right next to a residential neighborhood. That's just a poor location for it. But since it's there, you need to be able to work with that aspect of it. And I've been there sometimes where it's past midnight and all those lights are on, but there's not anybody on the fields. So control of the lighting is one very important factor that needs to be undertaken immediately. And as far as people getting there at 5:30 in the morning, I have no idea why they're there at 5:30 or the whole fields are lighted up. There needs to be better control for the lighting. If you're a neighbor that's sitting next to that and you have lighting that's projected into your bedroom window, you don't care for it at all. It's a nuisance. The way you control that is to not allow that lighting to occur. And the way that can be handled is simply by providing what is a metal shield on the lamp standard itself. And that's done in many locations. The aspect of looking at that is one from the ball field in Des Moines in downtown. And that area is located in an industrial area. It's now been changed to more residential. But to locate this where it's right next to a residential area was poor site planning. The way you can solve it is by the lighting issue, by the concerns for that, and being able to provide buffer plantings around that, but it's going to take years to be able to provide for a shade for that.
Thank you. David?
Yeah, no, I think the facility is a great benefit to the community, and I think a lot of people know and acknowledge that, but it certainly doesn't come without its challenges. Um, I am a person who lives right by it. I live a block and a half from it, so I'm well aware of what it's like. My wife and I sometimes we're out working in the yard on Saturday mornings, and when people start cheering, we just like to take a bow every now and then. So, yeah, so I'm well aware. I know there's some lighting issues. I know there's some music issues, and I think we can work through those and figure that out. I've already talked to Park and Rec staff about that a little bit. I think there's things we can do. I know that there's the lights can be programmed, and they are programmed to shut off. I do know there are some groups that do run late, but we also do have within the contracts for those groups when they run overtime. Because it would not be a good public look to kick them off the field because they couldn't finish their tournament like in a last half hour, right? So there is a thing in contracts for these groups that if they run over, they have to pay extra fees because they're consuming more electricity to keep that going. So, that is something that we have done, and that is a little bit of a deterrent. But I would say, if we're going to make any big changes in policy, that's why I have a Parks and Rec board, and I would strongly advocate we work with that board, and that board looks through these things and we figure out what to do. And the time to do that is in between seasons. You don't make dramatic changes in policy mid-season when a lot of these groups have already signed contracts. So I would be all about that. I would be all about council working with Parks and Rec and working with the Park and Rec board and taking a look at that, seeing if we can refine what we do, hours of operation, etc. I think we can do better, and we can try to make it better, and that's just all we can ask of our city council and our boards.
Thank you. Joe, back to you, and then we'll go to Ryan.
Yeah, I think it's something as simple as, like you said, scheduling. All right. First of all, the Parks and Recs, they're new with this facility, so I agree. Got to give them some play on learning. But it's real simple. Schedule it. Okay. During the week, make your, we understand the weekends it's going to be busy. You're going to get it. You got tournaments from sunlight to sundown. On the weekends. During the week, schedule. Okay. Let's make it a 2100. Sorry, 9 o'clock. Okay. 9 o'clock shut down or something like that. It's real simple. Okay. Don't overlook things. Don't read into it. Okay. Get proper scheduling during the week. On the weekends, we understand like 1100 or 11 p.m. or whatever it may be. So it's just really that simple. I truly believe it is. You're right. The lights aren't on a schedule. You could set the lights. So let's do it. Okay. But Parks and Rec, you're doing a great job. Okay. It's an adjustment. It's new. So you're right. We've got to work with it a little bit till we get the things in. So foul balls. I played ball all my life. I haven't seen many ball fields without a net coming over the front of home plate. All these nets out there, okay, they're all straight up, okay? Every foul ball is going out, okay? It's real simple. Make adjustments. Work as we need it. Extend the nets over home plate as opposed to straight up. You're going to prevent probably 70% of the foul balls going in people's yards. Again, it's common sense. It's simple. Schedule. Make the adjustments we need. You're right. We can't do it during during a year. Well, we have winter coming up. So I expect next year we should be good, right? Next.
Right.
One of 4 houses that directly back up to the park is where I live. For 20 years, we had a cornfield behind our house. It was great. Scheduling. I think we need to bring the hours down some more because no one's going to play when there's lights off. I'll tell you, I enjoy hearing what goes on. I sit on my back deck and listen to what's there. I've heard complaints from other people about it. I had a gentleman send me an email, page-long email talking about that and some other stuff in the neighborhood. And then I point out to him, by the way, I live a block and a half away from you. And I go closer to all this action. And it doesn't bother me. It's not as loud as we think. Yeah, there's balls. I've found balls back on the back trail right behind there to walk my dog. I was off as I wanted to, but and yeah, there's balls. That's always going to happen. I've seen soccer balls fly over, no matter what you do with any field. And we have the nets that do curve over. Maybe they need to be adjusted a little bit more. But yeah, just a little bit better scheduling, but that's also why I'm on the Park and Rec board now. Our current mayor put me on there, and I'm enjoying it, and I want to make the most of what's there. Thank you.
Sure.
Perfect. Now we've heard a lot of different opinions here, and I think it all comes down to perception. Because personally, I'm a person that loves sports too. It wouldn't bother me in the least bit. But doing some of the things that I do, like with the small engines, I make sure to shut it down at 8:00 because I know there are other people that have kids and little babies and so forth that do not need or want that noise. As for the foul balls and things like that, it's hard to say. I think it's kind of an occupational hazard. You live next to a golf course. I'm guilty of it. I hook my ball into a house, and it's kind of what happens when you live that close to. So I'm sure there are some things like putting up nets that we could help prevent some of that stuff. But at some part, we built houses so close to it that it's just going to happen, unfortunately. But my initial thoughts when I was thinking of baseball games going to 11, I think that's absurd. And two, I know there's so many different ballparks out there, and they can't all be used that late. So scheduling to, like, if there is going to be a game or a final or something that we know could go late into the night, make it one of the interior fields where you could shut down all the other lights around the homes so that way they can still finish their game. I think it could be that simple. It's just making sure that we're doing it efficiently and not having the corner baseball field where the homes are at 11 o'clock going on. So I think there's a lot of things we could probably do fairly easily without making a ton of changes.
I think a lot of what was said makes a lot of sense. I think that there's a lot of good ideas being thrown out here. I would imagine that our Parks and Rec board, as well as our Parks and Rec department, have been hearing feedback and have been coming up with similar ideas and planning for that. I think that's what's important here is the planning part of it. And so hearing feedback is important, wanting to make sure that that feedback gets to the appropriate people. Start with the city staff. You can certainly reach out to any council members at any time as well, but ensuring that the department has time to plan to make adjustments is important. I don't think anyone's touched on traffic yet. That's mostly what I hear about is traffic. I've experienced it, so I get it. Trying to go to Hy-Vee on a Saturday morning can be a little hard. So I do think that's another area of opportunity to look at what options there are there. Again, I can throw out ideas. I think that we should. Maybe there needs to be at peak times some directing of traffic because there are a lot of ins and outs and not all of them are used. Everybody seems to go the same way. But there's a lot of other options to get in and out. So perhaps we do some directing of traffic. But what I really think is important is that we ensure that we hold our city staff accountable, our Parks and Rec board accountable, as well as our council members. And we should be pushing ideas out, but I think that something that's done really, really well in the city is data-driven decisions and really thinking through the actions that we take. So I think that this is a good question. I think it's a good reminder to ensure that we are holding each other accountable. But other than the ideas that were stated, I don't have any additional ones. Again, I would refer to our Parks and Rec director.
Who is here, by the way?
Yeah, thank you. Leslie?
Hi, yes, thank you. What we know is the multiplex isn't going anywhere at this point. The homes surrounding it aren't going anywhere. Typically, my approach to navigating conflict like this challenges, especially when there are growing pains associated with a new facility and neighbors that are new to adjusting to this new norm. Likely when they bought their house, the sportsplex wasn't there. And so typically how I would approach things like this is bring people together. In this instance, it's probably more appropriate to go out and speak directly to those that are most affected by the challenges that are being raised, or providing an opportunity for those that are voicing frustrations to be heard. There's a lot of logistical solutions that have been offered here. Clearly, we're all in consensus that those really, really early morning and late night use of the facility is creating a quality of life challenge. So I think it's just important that we create a close communication loop between those that are experiencing these frustrations in the city and those that can make changes, so that they feel heard and that they can see some progress and momentum in comparison, because it's their asset, it's their investment that they've made in this community. And so to ensure that we bring those folks along in collaboration is really important. It sounds like there's already a lot of support of fine tuning, especially in this off season, as we navigate further into this. If needed, it could get to the point where a policy maybe needs to be looked at, similar to a noise ordinance or parks hours and such. But I think that there's a lot of collaboration at play that can provide some reasonable solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm amazed at the success, I guess, the amount of activities, amount of tournaments are there. It's impressive. So I think that's a really good thing for Grimes, and hopefully you guys can figure something out. So I'm going to start the next question. So Alan, I'll start with you, and then we'll go back around the room, okay? And we'll finish up with you on Joe on that one, okay? So what role do you believe Parks and Recreation play in the quality of the life for Grimes residents? And how would you prioritize future park development or improvements?
I think parks and recreation services within the city are critical, because otherwise it's an issue that people say, what are we going to do here? What are we going to have our kids do? What are we going to have our grandkids do? And part of that is a program identified, just as we have said, of being able to schedule those activities, schedule a variety of activities that are available to different ages of children, to different ages of activities from the standpoint of adults as well, and having those programs that are available for different people. I think the aspect of that is one that the Parks Department has tried to do very well. Obviously, there's learning when you try a new program and decide, if this is really what we want to do, or we can try it. But I think the aspect of that is one that has been well thought out, and I think that's something that should be continued. I think the Parks Board themselves are people who want to be active within the community and being able to find out what other people would like to see happen. And those are things that you can go forward with. And again, being able to just meet with those board members and meet with staff. That's one of the things that's really important, as I've identified before, is being able to listen to what people want to see and be able to then determine the best process to be able to make those things happen. And some of those things are financial that you can't make happen. But when you do have the wherewithal to do that, or ability to allow that to go forward, then that's something that Parks is a very good leader doing so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, the Parks and Rec plays just a super critical role in our community. It's often, if you look around, it's where families meet. It's where families go to play together. It's kind of a cultural focus nowadays. It's a really big thing. And so I think, we have to do what we can to support that. And I think we are doing that. I think Brian and the staff have done a great job with programming. I know the council has challenged him to add more programming of all ages, and they've done that. They've stepped up, and they keep adding more stuff every year, and they keep refining it. Just like we had Fall Fest recently, that formerly was not a city thing, and the city has taken that on, right? And then the same thing with Trunk or Treat. We just had that, and the city's taken that on, and they keep trying to refine things and make it better and better. So I think it's critical, and I think we have to do everything we can to help it. I'll just add to that, when it comes to parks, we do have a parks master plan. So again, it's been alluded to, but collecting data, we're trying to figure out, okay, what parks need the love? Where are we doing it? How do we do it? And part of that is also trail connectivity. I guess we haven't talked about that, but parks is more than just the fields, the sports fields, right? It's green space, it's playground equipment, it's the trails, all those things matter. And I think we're trying to improve all those things and add more to all those things and increase the programming and all those things. So I feel really happy about the direction we're going there. But that doesn't mean we rest on our laurels. We keep trying, we keep pushing, we keep and trying to innovate, figure out what can we add, what can we do different, what do the residents say they want that we're not doing. Another good example of that is pickleball. I mean, that's a big thing, right? So we've pivoted and we've added more pickleball stuff, right? So I think we're being responsive and doing a good job, and we just need to continue that momentum.
Thank you. Ryan?
As I mentioned, right over on Park Street, The Lions Park is getting renovated for the first time. We had a porta potty last 25 years there. It's getting redone. We chose to do that park specifically because it was right next to the Hy-Vee Grimesplex, or this, and take time away from what was the farm and move it to there. And it's going fantastic. I love what we've done. We brought on people. We brought on a Parks and Rec director. Previously, we had a coordinator who did a great job with what he was doing with getting teams together, getting something going. We brought on the team. We brought them on because we knew we were going to add more to this as the Grimesplex was getting ready to be dialed up. And as we took it from a private thing to a public service, I think that complex has been fantastic. It costs us 1/3 what it would cost these other places. Only 1/3 of the public's money went towards that. Others was related to developers, and it was just, it's amazing how much there was. 4,000 events in its first full year it was open. I mean, it was, and I'm approximately on those numbers. I remember hearing approximately that, and it's just busy. Yes, I think we'll cut down the hours a little bit because we've done so well. But the Park and Rec Board is a board. Heck, it meets on Wednesday night tomorrow if you want to, or Wednesday 2 nights from now if you want to come by at 5:30. Give us some more input. Give us some more ideas. We've got some great stuff. We got great people on it, great people leading it. But if you want to give more input on it, we'd love to see you.
Sure.
I agree. I'm a little bit biased on this one because I have absolutely nothing bad to say about the Parks and Recreation. I think they do a fantastic job. They're very good at communicating with the staff they have. I mean, my kids love the parks. They have a name for every single one of them, and it's not their official name. It's their red and blue park. It's whatever it is. But we have adequate parks that they're good. They're clean. I would like to see maybe some more like restrooms, the places where they can, just get a drink, go to the bathroom at some of them. But all in all, with what the budget I'm sure that they have, which is probably not extensive, I think they do a fantastic job. Do I think we could have 5 or 6 more pickleball courts? Of course I do. But again, a little bit biased on that. But
Wait till spring. We got it.
well, they keep telling me that, but no, I truly don't. I think those guys do a fantastic job. I grew up in Urbandale, and they had a Parks and Rec program that was very, very robust. And Urbandale's a lot bigger than Grimes, probably still will be for quite some time now. And it feels the same. So they're doing the work of cities much bigger than them, and I applaud out the work they're doing. So,
Laurie?
Yeah, I think that Parks and Recreation plays a really large part in our quality of life. It's often what we hear a lot about. I think that as David's mentioned, we've pushed Brian quite a bit, and he's done a really nice job with that. I can tell you one of the things I pushed on was I don't have kids, and I am an adult that likes to do stuff, and I'm like, what can the adults do? And he's delivering. Pickleball was mentioned, disc golf course. There's options. There's adult leagues. There's been a lot of leagues added. There's just a lot of things that the community can participate in. And then just our land in general, our parkland in general is great spaces where community events are taking place. And a lot of the events that are put on by other organizations, the city is a part of as well. And they do a nice job of keeping things looking nice. And I hear you in the bathrooms thing. And one of the things that I do want to point out is with planning on updating parks or creating new spaces, the city has made a commitment to make our spaces really inclusive for everybody. And that's been a really important thing to several residents, particularly that have come to council and talked to us about this. And we all have felt very strongly about it. And so I wanted to make sure that people are aware of that our city spaces are very inclusive, and we will continue to push that, hopefully, to continue that not just bare minimum ADA compliance. We are ensuring that our spaces, everybody can enjoy and everybody can be able to get around easily or have adult size adjustable changing tables in the back room, so there can be a level of just feeling included. And so I wanted to make sure people were aware of that, because that's a really big deal. And I'm proud of Grimes for making an effort and continuing to make that a priority. And it's all of city staff. But I think that the parks are, and like our splash pad, for example, is accessible as well. I think that's a really important thing.
Thank you. Back to Leslie.
So the role of government tends to be that which the private sector either cannot or will not fill. And Parks and Rec overall falls into that category. And so there is a niche that's being met by competitive sports where parents who are able to afford that level of competitive play, or children who want to compete at that level can do so. But there's still that really important community-based element that really, for it to be provided by Parks and Rec, is essential to create opportunities and build skills that would otherwise be lacking. So all of the amenities that have been spoken to earlier, it's providing a place for kids to play, adults to play, to connect, to explore, and to create formative experiences that we learn when we lose. And when my daughter lost her volleyball tournament yesterday and there was lots of tears, those are coachable opportunities when you're playing community sports or interacting in these spaces and you're meeting kids outside of your school, and for moms to have a place to connect and dads to have a place to connect where you're coming together in the community is really important. And I'm proud here in Grimes that Parks and Rec doesn't just mean sports, that it does include the events, and it does include our play spaces as well. As far as how to prioritize, I think it's important that we utilize the proper channels that are in place, that residents have a voice to raise up their ideas. We're better off with more involvement for others. The creativity that flows is bigger and better when more people are involved and feel inclined to share. And for that to flow through the Parks Board and through staff leadership. And then from there, for the city to balance the prioritization between the development of new, in addition to the maintenance and the redevelopment of the existing. So all families have equal opportunities to those places. Thank you.
Joe?
Just want to follow up what everybody said. Parks and Recs, you guys do a great job. I've been in sports all my life. My kid's been in sports, been coaching this and that. There's a lot more than just schedule. And they take care of the fields. They make them look good. They take care of a lot. Grimes has some great parks. Okay, a lot of them are sufficient for what we've got at this time. Beautiful parks. As far as prioritizing the parks, I don't think they need to be as high as they are on the priority list. I know that might rub people the wrong way, but we've got other issues that need to be above priority as far as putting parks as high as it is. Now, not taking away from anything. Yes, we've got updates that need to be made. We've got things that need to be done. I'm all about the parks. Again, we've got great parks, but I truly believe it is a little high on the priority list for the city when we have so many other issues that we have to battle right now. We need an infrastructure. We need solid roads to get to the parks. You know, we could drive up to a big, beautiful park. If you get down a road that's crumbling, what's that say for it? So as far as prioritizing the parks, I think they're a little too high on the priority list for Grimes at this time. Again, nothing against it. Parks and Recs, you guys do an amazing job. You really do. I know it takes a lot into cutting those fields and getting them the way they look. And I know you guys take pride in it. And I take pride in it. When I have people that come from out of town to visit, they tell us how wonderful our parks are. I play on them. My kids play on them. They have for years. You guys do an amazing job, and I appreciate you for that. And I don't think you guys get enough thanks. And I don't think you guys, everybody knows what they do. But as far as prioritizing the parks, I don't think they need to be as high on the priority list as they are at this time.
Thank you. So, question. We got a lot of good questions here from the audience. And I think what I'm going to do is ask one more question that you guys have seen. And then there's some great questions from the audience. Are you guys willing to kind of pivot?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So the one question is, and this is it's a good question for me because I have when I came on council a long time ago, 2002, we had Polk County Sheriff that was sporting Grimes. And so this is a good question regarding that. So the city of Grimes has a longstanding relationship with Polk County Sheriff's Department to provide law enforcement, patrol response, investigations, traffic control, assist in emergency response, and more. Recently added a school resource officer presence in the community. So the question is, do you feel this relationship is good for the community? And if not, what would you propose changing? And we can start with David.
Yeah, no, I think this relationship is really good. I think I alluded it to in the last forum. A lot of cities, have talked to me over the years and like, how did you guys do that? That's a really good thing. And that's nothing against their own departments, but one of the nice things about having this relationship with Polk County is you can tap into those resources of a larger organization, a larger police force. If we had our own organization, there'd be a lot more overhead costs involved. I'm not sure we would have access to as much training or as high a level of training because Polk County can go after and get that and do that for all their officers because it's just the size of scope and what they do. And so we get those officers here and we get the benefit of all that. And I think that's fantastic. I also think it's working really well. We have dedicated officers that have dedicated patrol here. That's a really common misconception. I hear people say a lot, oh, well, what if, they're out doing something in Norwalk, yeah, and they don't get here in time. Well, it doesn't work like that. They have dedicated patrols here. And we work with Polk County and we look at the amount of calls and, every year we look at that agreement and we say, okay, is it time? Do we need more patrols or how does that look? And it's just a nice negotiation that we do with them. And I think it's been going really well. I wouldn't be shocked if we look at adding another route to that. I've talked to some citizens about it. We've had experience with them. I've heard overwhelmingly it's been really good, positive experiences with Polk County. They're very professional. So I think it's just really, really great for the community. And I'm excited that we're getting them a nice, real dedicated space in the new fire station. And so we just better support them and just see that continue to prosper.
Thank you, Brian.
Echo almost exactly what David said. Whenever that arrangement was laid, which was well before my time here, I'm sure we had a police force at one point, just like Dallas Center did. Dallas Center moved to what we are doing years ago. I remember the only thing that I ever had that I was off on changed when we got a new superintendent of the school district. We were trying to get that school resource officer for a long time, and we ran into a brick wall. That was one thing that the then current superintendent didn't want. We got that. With my experience I had even before we brought on the SRO here, I was substitute teaching down in Adel. I got a full-time job teaching. I teach up in Perry right now where we've had our issues, just to say straight out. And the school resource officer system that we have there was amazing. Actually, the officer that was in charge of it for the last 2 years, just rotated out. His wife was one of the teachers that convinced me to teach her. She's no longer a teacher for us, Miss Moore. And yes, the SRO system works. So, echoing what was already said, I think it's a fantastic arrangement. The scalability is fantastic. When we get our new census numbers back, without a doubt, we're going to make adjustments in schedule. And yes, we want to have them here more often. But yes, they also sometimes have to deal with bigger issues within the city, and they can't be as responsive, like when we're making calls for fireworks. But there's a domestic dispute going on. They can't go police the fireworks when there's a domestic going on. So, big fan of our arrangement we have with the fire department. Again, we could not have as much coverage, as much resources without that arrangement if we were just doing it all ourselves.
Thank you, Jared.
I agree with what most people said here. I mean, I think the arrangement is about as good as it can get. I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of different Polk County sheriffs that are stationed here in here in Grimes, and those people love Grimes like their own community, even if they don't live here. Many of them do live here. A couple of them live just around the corner from us. But I've looked into the cost of what it would really cost the city of Grimes to even have an effective police force of their own. And I don't think anybody has any clue what that startup cost would look like. And if you think your taxes are high now, that tax would just get higher. And what I've also seen is some other communities that have their own police force, they almost have to justify their positions. That means a lot more tickets for things that you probably don't get from the Polk County sheriffs nowadays. They They do their jobs. They respond to the emergencies, but that's it. But one thing I have heard from some of them is they are very reactionary right now because they are in need of about 1 or 2 more officers on patrol during the regular time. So that is something that's very important to me, is the safety of my community and the schools, like I talked about before. So if the investment needs to be that we have another, dedicated Polk County Sheriff out in Grimes, or 2, like they said, that way they can be a little bit more proactive and not always just jumping from reactive call, reactive call, reactive call. Because where I lived over on the south side, I cannot tell you a time where at least 1 or 2 are not sitting at those apartment complexes. So not knowing how many people are active, but if you've got 2 stuck there all the time, that leaves very few to respond to anything else in the community. So I would like to see a little bit more investment into it. But as for the program in general, I think it's fantastic. I think, they do a lot of what they were saying. The investment's all done through Polk County. We get to take as much of it or as little of it as we need as in that investment. And the community resource officer, which I haven't talked about, is probably far overdue with all the school shootings that we've seen. I mean, for a long time, we've been kind of insulated from that, but we saw it, just last year. And sadly, I don't think those things are going to stop. I think there's a lot of copycats, and resource officers in our school are probably completely underutilized, and I think we need them probably more.
Laurie?
Yeah, I'm 100% supportive of this agreement that we have in place. I think that for all the reasons everyone said, financially, it makes a lot of sense. We do have good coverage. I think everybody knows that as we continue to grow, we're going to have the need for more. That's something that Polk County Sheriff's Office is absolutely wanting to partner with us on. We're halfway through our agreement with them, our 10-year agreement with them. I think that it's probably going to be a conversation that's going to happen, I would imagine, maybe in our strategic planning here in a couple of weeks. I know that the city staff is also working with some ideas that they want to work with Polk County Sheriff on as well to bring some additional safety features and safety ideas into the city of Grimes. But when I ran 4 years ago, I did a ride along with Polk County Sheriff and had a lot of good conversation around how they patrol Grimes and I didn't know exactly how it all worked. They do have certain areas that they keep an eye on. And so while they are driving around, there are certain areas that on shift they're always looking at. They have to prioritize the calls. So I know when you call Polk County Sheriff, it is an important thing. Nobody's calling for no reason, but they do have to prioritize if there is a big event that has happened, a domestic situation that is going to take precedent over a parking issue or a speeding situation. So I know that's hard to hear. Again, if you're calling, that's very important. But they do have to prioritize, but that would happen regardless. I think something else that's important to point out is while we do have dedicated deputies here, that if a big event happened, and unfortunately sometimes we have that happen here, especially as we grow, that can continue to increase, they will bring more people in as needed and will cover. The other thing I learned when I did a ride along was if they have to take someone out of Grimes to the jail, they'll bring someone else in. So we always have coverage. So there's a lot of really good benefits to this beyond financial, but Jared, you're exactly right. This is a really financially good agreement for the city.
Back to Leslie.
Yeah. At this time, I think that the arrangement absolutely makes sense. Public safety is the largest consumer of our property taxes. And so the city has found a way to fill the need in a way that's maximizing our taxpayer dollars. Now, public safety isn't an area we necessarily want to get a good deal if it means we're sacrificing the safety of our residents. However, at this time, we have access to niche areas of law enforcement that we frankly just wouldn't have access to as a typical community of our size. Going forward, I think that it's something that we need to continue to monitor, especially as we grow, to make sure that we have the right coverage based on our growing community as well as the number of occurrences that are taking place. So in other words, how does our presence for coverage compare to similar cities with similar demographics? Are we meeting or exceeding the benchmarks that are in place, and including, various variables which which would include cost. I also think we need to be mindful that, when we have partnerships like this, we need to look for and seek win-win solutions. If either party feels like they are getting the raw end of the deal or being taken advantage of, then you have a deterioration of the relationship. And so just making sure that there's periodic check-ins, even throughout the contract that's in place, to make sure that it's continuing to make sense, and keeping the lines of communication open. We wouldn't want to put anything at risk that we would have to eventually be required to explore the internalizing and that substantial setup cost. Thank you.
Okay. Sure.
I think they're doing a great job. Law enforcement, first responders, very dear to me. My oldest son's a law enforcement officer. They're doing a great job. But realistically, some things that Grimes have done in the past, we've reacted. We haven't been proactive about a lot of things. Johnston has 26,000 people. We've got just almost 19,000. Johnston has 35 full-time police officers. We are nowhere near that. We don't have the coverage that the people pay for. I love Polk County. My neighbor's Polk County. Best friends of Polk County sheriffs, okay? We need to think realistically. We need to start thinking about our own police department. Yes, I'm all for this deal that we've got. Realistically, I understand, Jared, it's going to cost a lot of money, but there shouldn't be a price on the safety of our community. A lot of misconceptions are that, we don't have the resources that we do from Polk County. Whatever resources we fall short on with the police department, your surrounding counties covered you, okay? They cover you. Investigating services, canines, they cover you. So don't be deceived by a lot of things you hear. I'm all for this agreement that we've got right now. Okay, we're talking about tearing down the old library, building a brand new $10 million city administrative building. Let's be proactive. Let's think about this police department. Okay, let's think about building a municipal city. Let's think about doing something together instead of reacting, instead of everything we would do. Oh, we should have done it that way. We should have done it that way. Again, it's probably not what a lot of people want to hear. I'm all for what we've got now. Yes, financially, it's the best thing to do. But we're talking growth. In 15 years, we want to be at 50,000 people. 2040, we want to be at 50,000 people. Do you think we don't need our own police department? I'm all for what we've got now. But what I'm saying is we need to start thinking ahead. We need to be proactive to what we've got. As I'm door knocking, probably 50% of the people are asking, why can't we have our own police department? I totally say, yes, the cost is going to be astronomical. But we need to be proactive and start thinking ahead about what we're going to do. Best case scenario right now is what we've got, and it works great, and those guys do a great job.
Alan?
I think the sheriff right now does what they're supposed to do, and we have a contract for that particular service. I've been with the sheriff one-on-one on a couple different occasions, and some of those things have been requests for service that I had that I was involved in, and he provided the documentation for me the next day. So he's very responsive. The difficulty is to try to get a hold of him. You got a lot of bureaucracy to go through trying to get a hold of the sheriff, and that's just how it is. But I think the other aspect of it is really from the day-to-day, if you've ever had experience with him. I can give you one example. I was pulled over one time for a quote I had gone through a stop sign. So I asked the officer, I said, great, if you think you did, that's your opinion. I don't think I did, but I need a video of what you have of it. And he said, okay, we'll get that for you. Here's who you need to contact. So I contacted the sheriff's office. Within a matter of 2 weeks, they said, there's no video. Nothing ever happened. You didn't go through that because we have no proof of it one way or the other. So sometimes you have a officer who is maybe a little bit aggressive, and you need to stand your ground from a civil liberties standpoint to be able to say whether they're correct or not correct, because you have the right to be able to do so. I think whether the sheriff now can stand for that and continue on, just as been identified as we're growing population, maybe not. But I think the other part that you need to realize is from the standpoint of what the sheriff does and doesn't do, Des Moines has back up from the sheriff's office as well. All cities do. The county sheriff provides backup for all the jurisdictions that are in the county. So they don't provide a separate service, and you're getting other things that they do. Yes, they do that, but they're going to do that for any city. That's their job. That's what they're required to do by state law. So you need to realize that you're not getting anything extra from the sheriff doing this. What you're getting, though, is probably an efficient manner in which they provide those services, because you're not having to establish, first of all, buying all those vehicles. Where are you going to get the money to buy all the vehicles from and drive around it? So that's one thing you need to take into account.
Thank you. Okay, so you ready to go off script a little bit?
Sure.
These are good questions, so I think it's good and it's fair. So first one, and we'll start with Ryan. How will there be time to do this council position? Given the other jobs, responsibilities you have, and your priorities, how will you have time to do this position?
How else we describe it? Kids are mostly out of the house. I have a great job up in Perry teaching that takes care of me, from 7:30 to 3:30. My income's in good shape. I feel confident with all that kind of stuff. I've been able to serve the last 8 years on the same situation, and I don't see anything changing with it. I'd like to spend a little bit more time on there. All of us would like to have more time with different things we do. But I have a good family life. I have a good work life, and I have time to do more with this.
Sure.
I actually very much appreciate this question, because my wife, that was the first question she asked me, is how are you going to do this? And I said, really, when it comes down to prioritization and if you support me, because ultimately a lot of those responsibilities are very fault to my life when I am doing council services, if I'm not like, and she is fully supportive of me, because she understands that what I want here is very simple. I want a safe community. I want a place for our kids to grow up that we don't have to worry about locking our doors or, like I said, having unfortunate incidents happen in schools. And if she thinks that, being on the city council and taking some of that extra time away is something that's going to accomplish those things, she is fully on board. And quite honestly, she's the only one that I report to. So if she's on board, I'll make it happen.
All right.
Yeah, it certainly is a commitment. And that's something, let's be real, I'm a voter too. There's 3 seats available. And so something that I'm looking for is commitment, is actions speak louder than words. And so knowing that there are going to be people that will show up to council meetings. Last week we had a council meeting, and afterwards we had a council and P&Z workshop to go through our comp plan. All open to the public. Would love to have seen some people there. I want to see the commitment, because it is a commitment. And it's not just council meetings. There's boards that you might be on. Sometimes they're in the middle of the day. I have to rearrange meetings and Zoom in. And then there's conversations that need to happen. We get a packet, which is public. We get a packet and we go through it, and we have to be prepared for the council meeting. There's a lot in that packet. That often requires questions that I would like to ask. And so I try to ask some questions in advance so that I can be prepared. Additionally, we have strategic planning. We have interviews in advance for that. We have 2 full days that we have to take off work to do strategic planning. So it's a large commitment. And I want to make sure that whoever is on council is committed to doing the job, because it's such an important job. And it does take a lot. I have a full-time job. I don't have kids, but I imagine a full-time job and kids and council, it's a lot, but it can be done. And I think that passion is a huge part of this, but commitment is a big one as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the question. I started my master's program when I was 6 months pregnant with a full-time job. And so I'm accustomed to prioritizing and working hard. And when I commit to something, it's just not ingrained in me that I can only do it in a partial manner. And so I did give this a lot of thought prior to filing my ballot to run for council. And I did spend time realizing, what portions of my day were going to be dedicated to different priorities and tasks that I have. And what I can say is, without showing you my Outlook calendar and my organization system and my color coding and my sticky notes, is that I feel very comfortable that I can balance the needs of my kiddos, my day job. I am lucky that I have a job that I can steal from sometimes during the day and make up for it at night. And I've done that in other areas as well. And so look forward to the opportunity, if I were elected, to be able to serve and not only show up in a way that's present at community at the council meetings or board meetings, but I think what I would need to continue to maintain an investment of time in is being in the community and speaking with residents. I've knocked on nearly 700 doors at this point. And so talk about a time commitment. I think I've already shown that I can balance that with my kids' activities and my day job as well. And so I would also prioritize continuing to maintain those connections and developing and sustaining those relationships so that I can prioritize representing people's voice in the spaces that I would be.
Thank you, Joe. I'm retired. I do have children, younger children as well. I've proven commitment. 30 years in the military. Okay. When I commit to something, I'm passionate about it. I've been around Grams 9 years. I've been in both for 9 years. So when I'm in, I'm all in. So there's no question about it. You're right. It takes a lot. And it's going to be tough for some people, but man, I give everybody, props that sits in a city elected official seat because it is a lot. So, but I've got no problem with commitment. I mean, I've got no problem at all. My biggest thing is I can't wait to, if elected, to get out and 90% of my time, hopefully, is in the community, answering calls, helping people, doing this and that. So as far as commitment or how I'm going to do it, again, I've got my children. I've got other things that I do, but if I'm committed to something, I do what I got to do and make it happen. No problems at all.
I think from the time commitment, I'm retired as well. I've got decades of experience in city government, so I know the ins and outs already, what happens and what can't happen. So I know how to get things done. And that's part of the leadership requirement that you need to have to take things forward as being a mayor. I think the other part from the commitment to be able to do that is, you're right, being able to have the time to visit with neighborhoods where I walk door to door, talk to a variety of different people. And some of the people, honestly, they're so upset about everything, you don't want to hear what they have to say, but you got to listen. There are many people that think this is great, but you have the few who are concerned about issues that are going forward that either they've had experience with, garbage pickup, you name it, they've had it. They have other experiences that, quite honestly, I'm not going to discuss right now. But I think the aspect of it is, if you don't get out and listen to the people to understand what their issues are, you're not going to be able to help them. And yeah, you might not be able to help everybody, but the majority of people, you are going to be able to find a good solution for them, to be able to work with them to get things done. And that's one thing that I pride myself in being able to do. And I've done it, like I said, for decades. So I look forward to being able to pursue this project and be able to get it done as mayor. Thanks.
Yeah, it is a really big commitment. I've been doing it for 8 years. If I was still teaching, I don't think I could run for mayor. But I did recently change positions a year and a half ago. And like Leslie, I have the ability to kind of flex and move my time a little bit here and there. And I'm also a night owl, and my spouse is not, my wife's not. So that's a good time to get things done for me. But, and it's also, speaking to my wife, like Jared, I lean on her and she helps a lot, and it makes this possible. But, she believes in me. She believes in the good I can do for the community, and I really appreciate that and the support from her. But it is about prioritizing and managing that. Sunday and Mondays I'm doing scouts. Tuesdays it's often council. I loved working serving on the Metro Waste Authority board, and that was on Wednesdays. But my wife and I had a conversation, and I gave that board up because I'm teaching RE, religious education, at our church on Wednesdays with my wife. And that was important to her, and I wanted to support her and do that with her. And so it's about those choices. And sometimes, it goes this way, sometimes it goes that way, but I'm willing to make those choices and figure out how to make those happen. Also, people call, text, email me. I'm happy to talk to them. I think I have a good record of doing that. I think, people have done that. I've been on the phone half hour, 40 minutes with people about issues, trying to hear what they got to say. Like I knew the Heavyplex was coming up. I talked to 2 other residents that live directly right by it yesterday. And just I wanted to hear what they kind of had to say about it and stuff. So, I've done the work. I've been doing it for 8 years, and I'm willing to keep doing it.
All right, thank you. So we have, if we push it, we can get 2 more questions done and then have a closing argument. You guys up for that?
Yep.
So Jared, I'll start with you on this question, but it's, what are your thoughts and plans to address housing for the aging citizens in our community?
For the agents,
Yes, the aging citizens in our community.
It's kind of a hard question because it just depends on what they are looking for. Because I know, like when I lived in Urbandale, we actually lived on a cul-de-sac where there were 55 and older that did not require any assistance. So there's the individuals that would fall into that bucket. But then like my grandmother that's got dementia, she's in a home at Brio just across in Johnston where they have full-time care for any service that you might need. And I don't see any of those things in Grimes. And I know a lot of the original citizens, I call them original citizens that have been here 30, 40 years, don't want to leave the city of Grimes if they need those services too. So I'm in full support of, building homes that would allow them to live however they need to, whether it is on their own, but, have the services that they need covered for them. Or in the case of, needing round the clock care, we need those as well.
Thank you.
I think it's really important that we have strong relationships as a city and the chamber with developers, developers in the area, developers that currently have development here in Grimes, and to try to work through that situation. I think that the chamber has done a really nice job. We have economic development in-house now as well. But I think that's a really big thing that has been improved and continues to improve with us as a city is having the right relationships. I think that we can look at what some of our surrounding areas neighbors have done as well. I know our city staff talks a lot with the surrounding areas and helps make those connections with different development groups. But I think that that's something that maybe doesn't get talked about a lot, but is important. And I don't personally know a lot of the developers, but I think that's something, an area that I can improve on is get to know some a little bit more as well. But I think that the chamber and our economic development director has done a really nice job. But I guess off the cuff, that would be my best answer is to really find the right developer to bring that in.
Leslie?
Yeah, thank you. I do think it's important that as a city, when we're splitting up our resources and our planning, it's important to keep in consideration all of our community members. It's easy to gravitate to kids and parks and rec and amenities and schools and such, but our elderly population can't be forgotten. They're valuable members of our community and have needs and require the support and planning from all of us. And so I think what is important is to hear directly from those that are at the cusp of being in a situation where they are planning for what their next housing needs look like, where there are shortfalls currently, what some of their challenges or concerns might be with the way that we can meet their housing needs. I do think it's an important priority for the city to continue to prioritize diverse housing needs, affordable housing for different members of our community. And so this would be an area where I think to first hear firsthand from the people who are impacted and needing the housing or their family members and what they're faced with, and then collecting data after hearing the concerns from folks, looking at other communities that are doing it well. What are ways that they have tackled the challenge? Would we define our current housing for elderly? Would we even classify it as a challenge? Or, what are the ways that we can put benchmarks in place to go from good to great and look for models that are doing it well? And like like all things that we've talked about tonight, anytime that we're in a silo trying to solve it on our own, I think that is going to create a lesser ideal solution. And so who are those partners that we can collaborate with to tackle this?
Yeah. I'm taking it as a different from talking to residents and from knocking on doors. I'm getting, when they're talking development, I'm getting more of a, not so much, how the developer's going to build this or that, or what's going to be there for the elderly. Okay. Senior centers. Okay. Activities and so on. I've been talked to quite a bit about that. I've been told from many that, and Grimes is going, sportsplexes, this and that, which is great. But I have had people ask, well, what are we going to do for the agent? Pickleball or, parks or whatever it may be, just something that it's easier, more accessible, and it makes them want to stay. There's a lot of things that we've done for a younger crowd, we'll say, but I have gotten that question a lot. How can we keep the elderly that have been here longer than most of us, that don't want to leave? We're growing, we're developing. Well, what are we doing to bring them along with us? Senior centers, art centers, I've had multiple people asking me about that. So I'm taking it as that. As far as home development and so on, you always talk developers and, communities and 55 over, whatever it may be. Okay. But I'm taking it as I've been told, as far as development, what are we doing to keep seniors involved in the community activities? So, you're right there. We think parks and recs, we think kids, we think this and that. We can't forget that, it's not all about the kids all the time. So it's about people that want to stay around and want to enjoy the stuff that's growing with Grimes.
Well, just as one who might be considered part of that population, I can tell you from the damage year, the kid that I beat up, he was way worse than I am. No, I fell doing some landscaping, but anyway. I think the real part of that is aspects of zoning. And zoning identifies where you can have a specific complex that might be for elderly use for apartments or that sort of thing. And I think the city's been pretty responsive for doing that. I don't see that there's been any negative impact for that. I think it's been something that's been accepted and realization from the standpoint of development taking forward. I think as well in meeting with developers that I've talked to before, they do want to serve that particular population because it's something that they see as a economic boon for development that they can occur with particular type of housing that's available, how it can meet other ADA requirements and situations like that. So I think it's an open situation that really is helpful for people and one that the city has been responsive to. Thanks.
David?
Yeah, no, I think we're doing a lot of things. One of those things is if you're talking about, the older parts of the community in terms of age, they're often on a fixed income, right? So we have a duty to be really responsible with our tax rate and ensuring that we're not negatively impacting them. And I think we've done that. We've tried to keep the tax rate lower, and we've been lowering it and trying to do that responsibly. And, part of that is thinking of that population. I'm glad you brought up senior center, Joe. I mean, I was recently talking with our city administrator and our full county supervisor, about what are ways we can do that in partnerships. I think there's a really good chance we can figure something out where it's not all coming from ourselves, right? So the city can certainly chip in and should chip in. I think there's an opportunity maybe work with Polk County and some of the things they did because they just supported one that is getting done in Ankeny. And I certainly think we could support one for ourselves. I think there's also a chance for private partnerships, right? So public-private. And so working with some of those people to get some dollars into this as well. So I think there's solutions and we're already having conversations about it. So I feel really good about that. We also have GVSS doing a fantastic job. We added HERDA, a layer on top of that to help support that community. I think zoning is important, and the comp plan that we're getting ready to finish up calls out zoning for these different types of neighborhoods. And there's a big push to try to increase that kind of a chunk of our current zoning. So I think a lot of parts are moving and trying to support that part of our community.
When I think of older people here in town, two people come to mind specifically. Vivian Kearns, who lives across the street from me, that my daughter loves to go over and visit. She's going on 95, 96 years old. I think of Marie Hutchison. Marie, oh my gosh, one of the first people I've ever met here in town. And she pretty much ran this town for the 70s and the 80s, something like that, as a city administrator. It was a totally different town. She was telling me about how back in the 50s, they used to go to the IOF building, watch movies at boxing. There are people that are established people here in town that have seen things grow. They both live independently in their homes. And that's what they want. And I think it's great. Yes, let's completely work with them and help them keep their houses. But there's other people, like all the community out of Kennybrook. Out west of town here, before you get to high school, is Kennybrook. It has many different levels of care, anything from an attached condo up to borderline hospitalization. And if Aquaman's grandma could live there, which in case you didn't know, Jason Momoa's grandma goes out there and visits every once in a while. It's got to be a really classy place. I mean, I've gone out there on Christmas caroling and that kind of stuff. It's a great place to be. The other one thing that popped in my head, related, but a little bit different. There's a group of people here in town that I've talked to that is working on a specialized home for special needs kids on the autism spectrum, taking care of some of our youngers that want to get independent. Yes, I love my 23-year-old daughter. She's a little bit special in some of those ways, but I'd love to have her places she can be a little bit more independent with what she does. And there's stuff like that we need to support through zoning and some grants to help them put that kind of stuff together. There's stuff like that over in West Des Moines. We need something like that in Grimes.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'm going to read this twice because it's just to make sure I get it right. I'm going to start with you, Laurie. So what are your views on the current staffing of the fire department, staffing with jump crews between the fire truck and ambulance, leaving one or the other unstaffed? So again, what are your views on the current staffing of the fire department, staffing with jump crews between the fire truck and ambulance, leaving one or the other unstaffed?
I love this question. I can't remember where it came from. I know we have a staffing shortage on our fire department. It is a conversation that happens very consistently on the fire board. It is a financial conversation, but it's also a people conversation. As I've had a lot of conversations with our fire department, with our fire union, it's been a tough nut to crack. The largest percentage of our budget is public health and safety, or public safety, and it continues to grow, and that is important, and that continues to be a priority of mine. The current situation with Jump Crew is not ideal, and I know that because I've heard it directly. We've got to fix this. We're working through it. We're trying to find good answers and solutions. I think that with our new fire chief, I'm excited to get some new options brought to the table, but we've got to do some out-of-the-box thinking. And it's also in partnership with the city of Johnston. So we have done a lot of work to improve our relationship with that 2080 agreement. I feel very strongly about it, but we have not solved this problem, and it is a problem that will continue, and we have to make it a priority. I know that's not an answer, but that's the answer I have right now, and that I know that we need to prioritize this. And I appreciate that the fire department is holding us accountable and pushing us to and saying, why isn't this a priority?
So I think the question was, how do I feel about it? When I met with some of the firefighters last week, that was a learning opportunity for me. And how I felt about it was surprised and a little nervous, frankly, for the community. I think that, as I have knocked doors and talked with residents and spoken with many people in this community that have played different roles of leadership and planning, there hasn't been a lot of concerns raised about the fire department, which I have in turn taken to mean gosh, they must be doing really great and they're off on their own and they're, they've got what they need and they're thriving. And so I found the conversation with them really enlightening and really helpful to understand that even when things are seemingly going really, really well and people are very pleased with the level of services that they're given, that we are humans that are facing complex challenges. And so my hat's off to them that they show up and they're positively serving our community, and that most of us are somewhat aware of the challenge that they've been facing with the jump crew. I think it's hard from a prioritization standpoint because when you're faced with where you put your dollars, you drive by amenities that people are for sure 100% day in and day out utilizing. And then to take some of those resources and know that, okay, we need to expend some of them to solve this challenge with the jump crew because you don't know when those 2 calls are going to come in. But I think that is the matter. It's not a matter of if they're going it's not a matter if they ever will get 2 calls and be pulled in separate directions and forced to make a choice. It's a matter of when that happens. And so I agree, we need to be innovative, loved some of their ideas that they voiced. And I think through collaboration, brainstorming, partnerships, there's a solution. We just need to keep talking about it and recognizing it and raising it up, that it's one that we need to dedicate time and attention to.
Well, 100% unacceptable. Okay. This has been an issue since 2017. From 2017 to 2024, we've gone up almost 50% in population. Calls have increased over 60%. I'm not sure if everybody knows what this jump crew is. Okay. I'll give you an example. This new fire department, beautiful. Is this sustainable? Absolutely not. We don't have staff to use it. We have 3 people. Tops 5 that'll be in there. 5, ideally, we would love, okay? Give an example. The ambulance goes out on call, new fire station, okay? They're out. God forbid, 5 minutes later, Kennybrook catches on fire. We don't have a fire truck. 2 blocks away, we don't have a crew to go fight that fire. There's firefighters in this room that have gone to a fire and fought it with 2 people for 10 minutes. People ran on this 8 and 4 years. And I'm sorry, this is very unacceptable. 2017, 50% raise the population. No staff been hired. None. Yeah, let's do it. This is priority. 100%. Public safety. There should be no excuses. No excuses. Money shouldn't be an issue for somebody's life when we're spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on parks and upgrades, not on infrastructure, not on public safety. So yes, I'm passionate. I'm willing to sit here, raise my hand right now. If elected day 1, I will fight to get our fire departments fully staffed. Who else can raise their hand and say they will do that? Okay, because it's been said and people have ran on it for 8 years and 4 years and nothing's been done. Give the fire department what they need. Oh, and by the way, the fire department is funded 67% by Johnston, 33% by Grimes. Johnson is incurring most of that debt. They don't have a problem. They approved to hire 3 firefighters, 5-0. They came to Grimes. Grimes shot it down. No excuses. I'm getting looks. These are facts. You guys got a question? You want to see if they're a fact? Talk to the gentleman in front who put their lives on the line. Go fight a firefighter with 2 people. Thank God they kept the tool garage. Thank you.
Alan?
I can give you a personal example. My wife had a brain bleed. Ambulance and a fire truck were there. 2 days from now, she would have died 2 months ago. They were there. They responded immediately. I didn't even know they were outside. They called me to say that they were out there. I was at Menards. We were walking around because it was a hot day. But I know they provide a very, very valuable service. A couple of weeks ago, just after this, I was in a collision in 141, totaled the vehicle. Fire department and ambulance came out right then. They were responsive right there at the time. Public service and safety in this community and streets and infrastructure are my number one projects that need to be done. And they need to be fully funded, because if you don't have a street to get to a park, what's the use of it? You can have the greatest soccer complex, ball complex that we have, and we have traffic congestion out there. Yeah, it's a brand new facility. It was a cornfield before, for crying out loud. Do we make enough street improvements to make it happen? No. Why? Nobody thought about what traffic was going to be generated there, what was going to happen. What if there is a need for an ambulance to get out there? They're going to have a tough time when the roads are blocked. A real tough time. You need to realize this is for your own well-being and safety. Got to take care of it.
David?
Yeah, for the record, the way the whole staffing thing went down at the fire board is the motion was made. It was brought up. Only the person who made the motion, and this is a board of Johnston and Grimes city council members, only the person from Johnston who made the motion voted for it. So it wasn't they came to Grimes and we voted it down and all that. That's how it actually happened, right? So we did hire 2. I suggested that we hire 3, and it didn't work out that way. But 2 is a good start, and it helps us move the ball along. But there's where you have to balance the budget, you have to balance priorities, you have to balance all the different thoughts and feelings on both councils. And I'm willing to fight for the fire department. I said we need to do 3 last year. I want to continue to fight for them to get staffing. We do need better staffing. We have a commitment model that we shouldn't need jump crews, but because of just all the different times, like people get injured, right? People get sick, people go on military leave, etc. You're not always operating that peak efficiency, and then that's when we often have to do jump crews. And the model also does have some jump crews, but it's not at every station all the time, right? So first of all, yeah, we need to up staff so that we can fill those gaps better from when those people are gone for those very, very legitimate reasons. So that's a number one priority, and I'm all for that. And then after that, we need to continue to up staff, because I do agree we should have a fire truck and we should have an ambulance at all times, at all 3 stations, whether somebody's taking time off, whether they're sick or not, right? We have to do that. And then, of course, as populations grow, we then just keep needing that service as we need it. Having said that, all though, being on the fire board, our target is for our response time. We're meeting our target, and they're providing fantastic service. They're busting their butts, and they're doing it, and our citizens are receiving the benefit. But yeah, we need more staff. Ryan?
Being part of how do I say this? Being on the side of this, not being as direct as David was himself. I was on the fire board for a while. I moved to another board because I didn't connect as much with things. I've started to connect a little bit more. I've got a son who became a fireman up in Waterloo. I was mentioning that to the guys in the hallway. And I can understand a bit of the scheduling, a little bit of the stress that's involved. It is a very stressful job. There's no doubt about it. They are paid well. They need to be paid more. And we need to have more of them. I'd probably shoot for the more of them first. I think they probably agree they'd like to have more people to make it when they have time off. They have their time off. Joe, I want to compliment you on, I think 4 years ago, when you ran, you put the fire stuff in there as a strong piece for one. And I think it shook things up a little bit extra. We got things done faster with getting the new station built. On the side of this the labor issue on things, we have people question, why the heck did you put the fire station where you did? Tell you, studied very heavily by our past chief and their crew as to why we put it where it is based on our growth and things that we're doing. And I think it's going to be fantastic when it opens up soon. But yes, starting to better understand the staffing issues and what we need to do with it, with training our staff, continually training them and getting more of them out there. It was brought up at one point in the past, we looked into having an EMS type of crew just for those types of things. The quick medical calls where you might not need a whole engine, something like that out there, having a separate crew for that. We even studied for a while having separate stations that are guest responsive for that kind of stuff. And I think we need to look at it again.
Jared?
Actually, I'm glad this question came up. I received an email at 12:12 today being informed that I am not going to be the candidate that they'll be endorsing, and I think I know who they're going with now. But my point is that doesn't change my commitment to what they need. I spent an hour speaking with the three gentlemen up front, and I spent about another hour talking to the fire chief at the truck retreat. And I think Grimes doesn't understand the false sense of security that we have right now. And I was blown away to find out that all we need is a person in the boots. We have all the trucks. We have all the suits. We have all the access. We have everything we need to adequately staff in Johnston and the Grimes firehouses, but we don't have the people. And that part scared the crap out of me, quite honestly. Just knowing that, if they sent out to a fire call and then they have another call, they got to pick one service to send out there because they can't adequately staff a fire truck at the same time. And I think they have done a great job. And I think they covered a lot of gaps because of the talent that they have on their crew. But that only goes so far. Like Joe said, we have grown exponentially. The calls have gone up and they're covering that. But that's on them. Fatigue comes with that. Tiredness comes with that. And at some point, I have a feeling that Johnston might even say, hey, it's not worth it anymore. Let them be on their own. And I don't want that because we do have a great crew. And I just think we're doing them a disservice by not giving them, it's not a huge ask. And the fire chief told me, I will never ask for something we don't need. And I truly believe that. These guys are here for service too. They're not here, it is a job. They do get paid to do it. But this isn't a job a lot of people are signing up for. They've even said that, recruitment's down. People don't want to do this anymore because they know it's a dangerous job. Their suits that they put on cause cancer from day one, and they know that. And they still do it to make sure everybody here is protected and safe. So I think we definitely need to invest more and give them what they need.
I commend the audience for great questions. Appreciate your responses. So we have to be out here in about 10, 15 minutes, right? So can we rapid fire your closing and we'll go from there, starting with Leslie?
Yeah, wonderful. In summary, since I would be new to a position on the council, I just wanted to give some insight into what my approach would be. And I would summarize it with two words. One is balance and the other is relationships. Balance because we need to create attention to, we would need to assess our current needs with long-term planning for anticipated needs. We need to balance our desire for low property taxes with the high value services and amenities that we desire as well. We need to balance the creating intentional growth while taking care of current infrastructure needs into consideration. And relationships, because I think everything can be solved in a better capacity, maximizing opportunities, solving challenges with relationships. To properly do this, we need to collaborate with others. That would include the school, that includes the county, that includes the state, that includes developers. It includes working with current and future businesses. We're truly more efficient and effective and successful when we work together. My approach is to address conflict head on. I communicate in a way that is professional and respectful, but I also have no problem being direct. I am a problem solver. And I look forward to taking the skills that I have developed in my career over time and applying them in a leadership position. If you all would support me, I would appreciate it. Appreciate your vote on November 4th. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you to the Chamber for having us tonight.
Joe?
Yes, thank you, Chamber, for having this. I just want to clarify a couple things thank you, Ryan. 4 years ago, the same thing. Public safety was my number one thing. Yes, I did receive the endorsement from the firefighters union. Okay. This has been a passion of mine, and I can't believe this happens, guys. Jerry hit the nail on the head. This is something we do now. Okay. We have 2 ancillary employees. Let's not sugarcoat it. They're not full-time employees. Okay. They are not. They work Monday through Thursday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. These firefighters work 56 hours a week. These other firefighters are not there the full time. We're putting a Band-Aid on a problem. Okay? In fact, do your research. You could ask the firefighters up front here. Johnston did vote 5-0. Yes, we want to hire them. Grimes said no. They're here to answer the facts. Okay. Yes, I'm passionate about that. It is a serious sense of false security. I couldn't believe it that it hasn't been done. When I ran on it 4 years ago, when people on this board that have been on this board for years, they talk about money. Money is not an issue. Johnson funds 67% of it, guys. We got to come up with 33%. And you know what? They were only asking for 3. Do you know what they need to have full-time firefighters? They need 14. They're asking for bare minimum just so they could get the safety that we deserve. Okay? They need 14 to staff 3 fire stations for 3 shifts. They asked for 3 just to make sure we get enough out there. You guys, I'm passionate about this. Not only this, about this whole community. Okay? I love Grimes. I'm not going anywhere. If I don't get elected, I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to fight for these guys here. I'm still going to fight for everybody in Grimes. This is me. I won't give you the most polished answer, but I'll give you an honest answer. Okay? What you see is what you get with me. You know, I try to be professional. I do, you know, and it may not always be professional, but it is the truth and it's passion. Vote for Joe on November 4th if you want a voice and if you want public safety to be your number one priority. I do. No questions about it. Thank you.
Al.
My number one priority are public safety and infrastructure, because you got to have them both. We already have a great parks program, so let it just keep going. I think the other aspect that you need to remember is I went for this 4 years ago and ran against who was still the incumbent mayor. I got 40% of the vote. 40%. Nobody knew who I was. That says to me that there's a crying need for things to change, to get real and to understand what needs to happen. I have that ability. I've been in government service. I've been a city administrator. I know how to do these things and make them happen. I think the other part is really providing for information that's really correct. And Dave, I know you had a video that you identified from the standpoint of what was going on in the Brent Slough. And through that, you identified also that there could be other public monies that would be used for storm sewers themselves and that sort of thing. But yet, the TV channel, Jessica Anderson, had her question where her basement was flooded because of a sewer problem, a stormwater problem. And yet, at the same point, we could have used that stormwater problem to add more park land by the Brent Slough. Why do we need that? We don't. We need to answer and solve citizens' issues that are right here in our own town. We don't need to go out of town to do it. And I think those are critical things that need to be done. We have the resources. Apparently, there's the bucket of money that we could have used to do that, but we never used it. So it seems to me you need open, honest answers to what we have from our city budget, and I'm not sure that we're getting it. I've gotten double answers from the city administrator about being able to have this monies for this, but yet that's not in what was the final tally that was shown. It's couple $100,000 short. So it's like we have 2 sets of books. I don't understand it. Remember, it's real easy. May for mayor.
David.
Yeah. I think I've talked to a lot of people, and I think people feel really positive about Grimes, feel really positive about the direction the city's going. We've been really fiscally responsible. Our tax rate has gone down, but we've increased services. We've tried to add amenities. We've tried to balance what amenities we've added, right? We're trying to hit different areas of different needs throughout the city. And I think we've done a really good job of finding that balance. I want to see that balance continue. Also, as mayor, I think I have a really good ability to have good, solid relationships with people, even if I don't fully agree with them. I'm always happy to talk things out and just try to work it out and find those solutions. I'm about finding those solutions and finding it in a good, sensible way that is responsible to our citizens who ultimately have to pay the bill. So that's why I'm running, and I feel like we've done good work. I want to see us continue to good work. And I'm willing to have those conversations and meet and talk with people and just be a good mayor.
Ryan?
I've enjoyed serving the last 8 years. I'd love to serve 4 more. but I feel pretty confident in where the city is going. I see the people that are out here that are excited about stuff. The people that are up here at the table all are excited about what's going on here. This is turned into my hometown. I'm going to keep this very short. One other thing to quickly mention, transparency. We need to get more obvious with what we're doing. All that information's out there, but we need to be putting it out there stronger and more obvious. Like, for instance, if there's a development going on, we need to list where in different dockets and with different recordings we discussed it. We need to put more information out there. So that's something that I would love to work on next. I'd also love to work on us acquiring the space behind us, the railroad tracks, and developing something with it. There's a couple more things I'd love to do. If I'm not reelected, yeah, I'm still gonna be around. I'm still gonna help out where I can, because this is where I plan on being buried, right over there. Thanks.
Sure.
Much to what Brian said, I'm not here. I'm not running on an agenda. I want this to be a safe place for my kids to grow up. I don't have any interest in the development or who develops it around the city of Grimes. I just simply want this to be the best place that all of us can be proud to call home. Of course, there are things that I would like to see. Like, I don't think the infrastructure is where it should be, and I think we're years behind where it should be, especially with the growth that we've been seeing in the past. But kind of like everybody else was saying, I truly believe that, I've met people that think that Grimes seriously needs to rethink everything they're doing, to the people that think that, this is the best place to live. I land somewhere on the side of this is one of the best places to live. Do I think there's improvements? Absolutely. But the one thing I do pride myself on is I do take into consideration everybody's view. One of the first things I did when I ran is I posted my address so anybody could come talk and knock on my door anytime they wanted to. If you didn't already know where I live, most people seem to already know that. But if I am elected, I'm your voice. I'm not here for my own agenda. If you tell me you want something and the majority of Grimes believes that's something we need to do, then that's what we're going to do.
Laurie, you can close us out.
All right. Thank you for putting this on, Chamber, and everybody for being here and the questions that you gave to us. I'm running for re-election for the same reason I ran 4 years ago. I love where I live. I love this community. It's my home. I want to continue help building that community so that it's vibrant and safe and affordable. But our job as council members is to listen and to ask good questions and to make decisions on what's best for all of Grimes. And even when that means that not everybody agrees with all the decisions that are made. I also believe that the leadership means being informed and transparent, but collaborative as well. Focusing on the facts and long-term solutions, not opinions or assumptions. Asking questions, seeking understanding, and doing the hard work before the decisions are made that impact our community. As a council, we have to balance what our city needs for the future with what keeps Grimes enjoyable, safe, and affordable. And we have to do that while facing new budget constraints at the state level and working to keep our taxes under control. Transparency has been mentioned a few times. It was a question we didn't get to, and that is a big part of that. What I would say is I feel that we're very transparent. All of the city information is public. We don't hide anything. I don't have anything to gain from hiding anything. I'm a resident. I pay my property taxes the same way you guys do. It does take some work to find information. I understand that. But the packets are out there. The agendas are out there. The meetings are open to the public. Like I mentioned, we had a really good workshop last Tuesday that talked about a lot of things that people are talking about today. Infrastructure, streets. We talked about it. It was a workshop. It was public, open to the public. So we've worked hard to make the information easier to find over the past couple of years. We absolutely have more work we can do there. But I would say something that's just important is the commitment. It takes a lot of courage to run for office, but preparation and commitment is a big deal. Before I ran, I went to council meetings for almost a year, talked to elected officials. I talked to city staff. I talked to other candidates running. I talked to residents. I went on ride-alongs to Polk County Sheriff. I went to the fire stations. I did a ride-along with them. There's a lot of things that I didn't know still after putting in all that work. And so I just want to reiterate it's commitment. And that's what I'm looking for and whoever I vote for as well. Because again, as I stated before, I'm also a voter. But I'm committed, and I want to do this again. I would love to support the community, and I would love to serve the community, and I would love all of your votes. Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap. Speaking of that, 2 weeks from tomorrow, yep, so much is the vote. So let's give these guys a hand. Good job. Right, you've got to be out of here soon. So
Hey, if anybody wants any facts that I discussed, I'm always available. I'll be here. I'll be out front.